Today we have the incredible Crypto Rick, Ricardo Hamilton, with
Yes,
us.
indeed.
Definitely got lots of updates, lots of technical things, lots of stuff happening in the industry, and stuff's happening so fast. I don't even think we can keep up with it.
That's hard to keep up. We were talking about the other day. We might have to go live, more often because things are turning over so
Almost,
fast.
yeah, almost every day.
Yeah,
So, Rick, I do want you to take a moment to just introduce yourself, anything extra you've been doing, because you're always doing something new and we
yeah,
love it. And we want to
Yeah,
be on top of your successes as well.
yeah.
You guys are going to be in and out of the live, but Rick and Simon, these are your subject matter experts for precious metals, and they're all over it.
yes, indeed.
Yeah. So look, man, everybody,
There we go.
sound money, sound money session. Get in here, like this out, share this out. It's a lot of value, a lot of information. And like they talked about, things are accelerating. And there's some things that you need to know. There's certain things that you need to be doing. And so I know that we got a great show for y'all tonight. It's just some value information. But I'm honored to be here as always, helping people, understand the monetary system, understand, what's going on with the dollar, what's going on around the world with global finances and BRICS and gold and silver and crypto. And I got a new website I put together, still making some updates, but definitely check it out, www.runwithrick.com, runwithrick.com to get more details. But like I said, brother, I'm always honored and happy to be here to discuss, the pertinent issues of the day and how to help people be prepared and take advantage. So thank you for having me.
Oh man, it is our pleasure. If you guys remember, we had Ricardo on the 100th episode celebration, so and we chopped up some good game there. But there's a lot going on, and today, like I like to say, stay stacking, stay stacking, stay stacking, ounces, satoshis. But today's we're gonna focus more on precious metals because there's some important things going on in the precious metal market. And one of the first things I wanted to ask you, Rick, because you put out a post, I believe yesterday now. Let me double check right here. I'm just double checking, making sure. You put out a post about India's August silver imports are at a rate of 65% of annual mining supply.
Yeah.
And that is a big deal because India is part of the BRICS coalition, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. For them to have 65% of annual mining supply. So to the
Come on.
people and to me, what does that mean?
Yeah, well, understand something that we're at war, and there's different ways that you fight a war,
Hmm.
and one of those is obviously monetarily, and we see China and India and other countries strategically buying more gold and silver to hedge against the continued dollar devaluation. Obviously, the Federal Reserve just cut interest rates by 50 basis points,
Yeah.
manipulating this market. Obviously, the economy is not well because we don't have a free market. Otherwise, we would not need the Federal Reserve to step in with emergency monetary policy the way they've done. But also because the industrial demand, in 2025 alone, it is projected that the demand will outpace the supply for physical silver. And
Mm.
now that we're in this technological revolution and solar panels with AI and the amount of electricity that's needed to run AI, and then of course, just everything else, the applications for silver in healthcare and industry, and it continues to grow. Countries around the world, including India, like we just talked about, are buying more silver and accumulating more gold and silver than ever. And silver is a very strategic metal. I mean, they need it in industry and government and military, and now it's also returning to its role as money. So the people are starting to get silver. So silver is the most undervalued physical asset on the planet. And when I saw that post, I was like just blown away because we are in a silver squeeze. The demand for physical silver, that the rigging and manipulation of this market will come to an end. It's coming to an end because of the rules being changed by Basel III, the Bank of International Settlements. And obviously, we talk about BRICS and they're making their bilateral trade agreements and backing their currencies by gold.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, this is the time to definitely make sure that you have a significant position in physical silver. But I was
Mm.
blown away when I seen that because that was just the month of August.
Yeah.
65%. Talk about a shortage coming and what that's going to do to the price of silver.
Yeah, and I've been hearing this, because I follow different people in the silver industry, and I've just been hearing these different things. I heard about the LMBA having 8% of their supply drained in August as
Yep.
well, but it didn't say by who. And so I went through and I read the report, and it didn't really say by who specifically. So I said, "Oh wow, they're really just taking silver right up out the market."
Yeah.
And so it's a good time. I mean, it's always a good time to buy silver, right? Um, I had a couple little articles I wanted to see what you thought about.
Yeah.
And so just the so what one of these ones was interesting. This is about gold. So it said the gold price climbs to a new record high, now up 27% on the year. This is through mining.com. And they saying spot gold is above 2,600 last week. I think Friday. I think it may have dropped today. I didn't watch it at the end of the day. So what about gold? We understand the gold to silver ratio. What about gold? How should you what should be your strategy, do you think, with purchasing your gold and or your silver?
Yeah, I mean, most people, you just need to get something because most people don't have gold or silver at all. They're just sitting on cash. But I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, your portfolio, in my opinion, should consist of way more silver than you have gold because the multiples, the multiplier, the gains, the percentages that silver will experience will be far greater than what gold will do. I mean, it surprises me every time I think about it. You know, I'm just shocked that we've had trillions of dollars since, printed since COVID. We've had massive inflation in everything, and still silver, no inflation, no price action really taking place in silver. But we have gold at an all-time high and breaking out to new all-time highs. So
Hmm.
silver hasn't even had its run yet. So
Yeah.
silver is going to be the much bigger opportunity in regards to gains. And yes, the ratio for gold to silver is all messed up. Historically 15 or 10 to 1. I honestly believe, and I can see a reality where gold and silver are on a 1-to-1 ratio. But gold
Wow.
is real money. It's constitutional money. It's money all around the world. It's what governments are holding and how they hedge and give value to their currencies. So people need to have, physical silver and they need to have physical gold.
Hmm.
This is how you protect the purchasing power of your money. People don't understand. They look at,
Hmm.
gold and silver like investments. It's not an investment. This is how you secure your wealth. This is how you preserve your wealth. This is money insurance. Gold and silver will always have value, but right now what we have is currency devaluation. So
Hmm.
in this economy, savers are losing. In this economy, the middle class is being wiped away. And if you don't convert those dollars into wealth preserving assets, tier one, zero risk assets like gold, you're exposing yourself to a lot of risk, and the economy is not in your favor if you're doing so.
Mm. That's great. Great information. And I definitely 100% agree with that. Now, when you as a somebody who invests in precious metals, how do you like to keep your precious metals? Do you like them in a depository? Do you like them physically in your home, or do you like some kind of maybe paper money, paper, gold and silver? Which one do you prefer, or do you have like a mix of all of
Yeah, but right now you want to limit you want to limit your exposure to risk. And one of the riskiest things that you could do right now is have any kind of paper contract, certificate, or anything of that nature, because the market is so rigged. And there isn't enough silver out there. You mentioned it earlier. They're draining the coffers of the LBMA and the COMEX. They don't actually have the physical silver, but they
them?
are, creating contracts as if they do this fractional reserve kind of
Yeah.
lending, or kind of, fractional reserve system on the metal. And
Hmm.
so you want to have physical. You want to make sure that you have physical silver and gold in your possession. We have a saying: if you don't hold it, you don't own it. The same way, very similar. When we talk about crypto, we say not your keys, not your crypto, but you want
Yeah.
to have physical silver and gold. You want to get it in your possession. There are, some options where you can have it stored in a private vault. military grade security, fully insured, and things of that nature. But if you don't have any silver, you want to hold it physical. You want to make sure that you have it, and keep it secret, keep it safe.
Okay. And a lot of people ask me, and I give my examples, but they all ask, how do you protect it if you're going to keep it in your home? What's a good way to protect it and keep it safe? And also, for example, to keep it low key, because we talk about silver, on these social media platforms. So people around us know that you have silver, right? So how would you keep it safe in your home?
Yeah, well, most people, there's plenty of videos online where people will walk past a 10-ounce silver bar. They wouldn't even pick it up off the ground. They feel like they're too good to pick up an ounce of silver off the ground.
Yeah.
There are there are videos circulating where you can offer somebody a Hershey's chocolate bar or a 10-ounce bar of silver, and they'll take the chocolate bar all day.
Yeah.
So the people don't even know, the difference between an asset and a liability. They wouldn't even know how to convert it. So I wouldn't, live in that fear state of mind. But the other thing is that, nobody knows what you got.
Hmm.
They don't know. They don't know how much you got. They don't know where you got it. You might have it in your house. You might not have it in your house. You might have it buried in the backyard. You might have buried it at your relative's house. Nobody knows where you got it. But
Hmm.
you got a safe. You can obviously put a safe in your house. You have valuables in your house. How do you protect any valuable in your house? How do you protect your own life? That's why we have the Second Amendment in this country. We have
Yeah.
a Constitution. So we have valuables. How do you protect your valuables? And yeah, some people, people will go to your house knowing you got something, or if they don't know you got something,
This is
you
true.
know,
This
uh,
is true. They will look around. Yep.
yeah, they're just looking. They don't know, if that's the scenario. But you just, you can get strategic, in your own way, when it comes to what you have and how you secure it.
How you secure it, yes. So, and that's one of the main things is to secure your valuables and assets. For the people, because I don't know if we talk about the about flag theory a lot. Planting your flags in around the world globally. And one of the things okay, hold on one second. Oh man. Okay, just put it on my thing for me. I'm sorry, my 7-year-old, his tooth fell out, so what we gotta do about that. I'm sorry, but people talk about planting flags globally and having maybe some of your investments and assets globally. What do you think about keeping your gold or silver maybe in other countries, and and things like that, so that because the thing behind flag theory is not to let one country have all the say over everything that you do, especially your assets.
Yeah, you definitely want to have like a military science and tactics with your approaches to how you preserve and strategize, and where you go to your next location if your first location gets compromised.
Hmm.
So you definitely want to be, have a contingency plan in that sense. Yeah, you definitely want to have it spread out to the best of your ability.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean, because obviously, if your one location gets compromised and you have everything in one location, that could be pretty devastating for you. So you would definitely want to have, think strategically in case, where you are or where you have your assets. You don't want to have everything in one basket, or in one location, as you can say.
Yeah, and that's important. I tell people that's very important because you know we call it, when the flag theory, we call it a life portfolio, right? And so
Mhm.
it's the same as your financial portfolio. You wouldn't put everything in one basket, like you said. So when you have a life portfolio, you wouldn't put everything in one place, right? You have some things, you might get your education somewhere, investment somewhere, some land somewhere, things like that. So we always talk about stuff like that because you never know what's going to happen in one location, and but you have to be very safe about it, because I've heard some horror stories about people trying to move it to another country and they lose it all, because of the laws and
Yeah.
regulations. So you got to be on top of that, man. And so most definitely. Now I got another question. I had seen a article Now this has been about 2 weeks. Let me look at it, 2.5 weeks. So it said that Russia has upped their purchases from 12, what am I looking at? Okay, 12 million
Mm.
per month to 94 million per month, which is like
Mm.
it's probably about an 8x, almost 800% increase in their gold purchases before the BRICS, before the BRICS conference. Russia being
Mhm.
BRICS, when you see a move like that by Russia, what kind of indicator is that for the rest of us?
Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing is a trend, and it's important that people realize this trend because we are in a global economy, and what's happening here is that the central banks and the governments, the wise around the world, are hedging against the devaluation of the dollar as the United States has weaponized the monetary system.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're seeing is we're seeing a great awakening. We're also seeing a great reset. And so, yes, you're going to continue to see more and more acquisition of silver at record levels by governments and central banks. And that's going to continue to make the price of a gold increase. And that is because the dollar is losing value. It's important that people understand that, every assets are going to rise
Mm-hmm.
as the dollar continues to lose its value because the dollar's purchasing power is being declined. So it takes more of those dollars to buy those assets. So this is why we say, if you want to come from a wealthy family, even if a wealthy family didn't come from you, you have to make sure that you're just doing the things that the wealthy are doing, which is they're converting liabilities into assets. And the liability to you and your family right now is the U.S. dollar because of the monetary policy of the Federal Reserve continuing to devalue the currency through the manipulation of through the market and cutting rates and things of this nature.
Mm.
Mm.
Now, as I spoke earlier about the flag theory for maybe like a family like us, that we live in Mexico, and while the U.S. dollar is still the world reserve currency and very strong against most other currencies,
Mhm.
um, what kind of strategy do you think you could have about using the U.S. dollar's strength in another currency to buy assets?
So you say that last part again, using the U.S. dollar, and you saying convert it to another currency to buy assets. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, a currency that the dollar is strong against.
Mm-hmm.
So where you get more assets because you have dollars instead of, for example, for us, Mexican pesos.
Exchange rate.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
so if I get paid in US dollars, I exchange it to pesos and then I can buy more assets in
Yeah.
Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you have that ability, that just makes sense. As long as the numbers add up, and
Hmm.
the thing is that all currencies are declining in value. All
Hmm.
currencies are fiat right now. The dollar just happens to be the prettiest of them, but they're
Yeah.
all losing value. And then so people will flock into the dollar, but it's still it's still declining, and that's why you're seeing. Governments and countries and people buy gold and silver. So and as we move forward, the reason that we're seeing central banks and government buy more gold, and we just talked about India with silver, is because we're going to a new monetary system. So the
Hmm.
fiat currency today will either be converted or they'll come out with another currency, but CBDCs are real,
Yes.
and they will back their new currency by gold. So while that opportunity, if you have that kind of an arbitrage exchange rate opportunity, then yes, definitely take advantage of it because the name of the game is to acquire as much and hold on to as much as these physical assets as you can as fiat currency continues to devalue. But it reminds me of the 1988 Economist magazine where it shows all the paper money, the dollars, you name it, euro, all of it was on fire, in a fire, and out of that fire rose a phoenix bird, and
Mm.
around the phoenix bird's neck was a gold pendulum with a digital zero in the middle of that pendulum, almost like the stellar XLM symbol. And
Ooh.
Yeah. If you Google the 1988 Economist magazine, and I think the title of it was "Get Ready for a New World Currency," but they
Oh
were
wow.
already foreshadowing fiat currencies burning, losing value,
Hmm.
just getting away, and out of that coming a gold and digital monetary system, essentially.
Oh wow, man, I gotta look into that. So they was already calling for it that long ago. Hmm.
Yeah, I might be able to
That is
pull it
interesting.
up.
The Economist.
Yeah,
Wow.
Economist magazine, and it has a phoenix bird on it. And actually, here, let me share a screen. I can actually maybe show that for the viewers. A lot of people, some people are familiar with it already.
Mm.
But they planned this stuff 50 years out. They
Yeah.
planned this stuff out way ahead of time. But here's the Economist magazine, and it says, "Get ready for a new world currency." And
Mm-hmm.
here what you see is the fiat money. Looks like a dollar there and other national currencies, and they're burning in flames. But out of that flame, out of the burning of the fiat currency rises, here's a gold chain, right? A gold looks like it'd be a gold coin, right? On
Uh,
the neck of this phoenix bird. So why is China and Russia and all these governments and India and them buying more gold and silver? Because they know that the new world currency, you see, you said
mhm.
that the dollar has the world reserve currency, and it's losing its status. More
Yeah.
countries are de-dollarizing. Saudi Arabia is taking other things outside of the dollar for oil, so that
Okay.
the global dollars in reserve out there in the world, that pool is declining, and governments are doing bilateral trade agreements with their own currency, with gold, with crypto. They're doing whatever it is, but they're getting away from the dollar. And then in the middle there, that looks like XLM, a symbol, but it's digital zero. So it's going to be a blockchain based commodity monetary system. There's no more going to be fiat paper that just supposed to have value because governments say so. That time is over. That's the
Hmm.
time that we're living in right now.
Hmm. Damn. That's wow. That's powerful.
I'm not sharing the screen. Nobody saw that screen. Did you see the screen,
I
brother, on
couldn't
screen
see.
when I pulled it up?
No, I
You
didn't
couldn't
see
see it?
anything. Mm-mm.
Oh, because you have to. You have
Oh, I
to. You
got.
have to.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there it is.
My wife's not here to
Yeah,
to
yeah.
guide
I
me
had it
through it.
on. I
Yeah,
was
I
like,
see
yeah, so
it.
yeah, you can see it. Yeah, so here we go. I'll just kind of go one more time. So you can see this is the Economist magazine. This was
Yeah. Okay.
September 15th, January. Well, this is 9/15. It's a January of 1988 when this came out.
Wow.
So get ready for a new world currency. You can see all the fiat currency there burning under its feet. It looks like a $5 bill right there, and other national currencies. And out of the fire, out of the devaluation, out of the
Hmm.
loss in purchasing power, credibility, status, value of paper money, out of that will rise a gold blockchain backed system is how I interpret this, because obviously it's a precious metals, gold and silver, right? But
Yes.
it's gold pendulum, gold coin with the digital zero looking like a XLM symbol on
Yeah.
there. And it said 2018. So imagine this came out in 1988, and on the
Wow.
pendulum it says 2018. So obviously we're in 2024, and we can see this actually literally taking place. And that's why we said we're seeing governments and central banks right now buying more gold, buying more silver, getting in the blockchain, and we're seeing fiat currencies decline and lose purchasing power all around the world.
Dang. That is prophetic, man. I guess they knew it was coming there.
Yeah,
And
they set it up. It's their game. They control everything, and they understood that the Federal Reserve is a private banking cartel. The Federal
mm,
Reserve is not part of the federal government. The Federal Reserve is public enemy number one. But the reason that the Revolutionary War was fought was not over tea and taxes. It was because the colonies didn't have the ability to issue their own debt-free, interest-free notes, and they knew through usury that they would be enslaved again. And so that's what we have here. We have a private central bank that has bankrupted this nation and confiscated our wealth through debt and interest. And Kennedy tried to take back power from the Federal Reserve by issuing silver certificates with
mhm.
Executive Order 11110. So this has been a battle that this country has been trying to face to get from up under the thumb of the Federal Reserve and the globalists. But you know, this was a setup from the beginning. They know that this central bank and them creating debt and interest, that eventually it will be unsustainable and we will have to convert to a new system. And now they're trying to manage the new reality that we're moving into. But obviously there are things that they could not have predicted, like our ability to fight back and be informed because of the technology that's available to us today in social media.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Thank you for that. Now, I was going to go into the chat. We got a friend of the show. His name is Jake Fever. He
Mm.
says, nobody going to buy gold like that. It takes $15 trillion for it to double. Nah, give me Bitcoin. What would you say to that?
Well, you know, I never really understood people's arguments when they try to get you on one side or the other. I have a well diversified portfolio. Nobody
Hmm.
has a crystal ball on the future. I think that even right now we're seeing unconventional warfare in Israel with their ability to explode pagers, and we're seeing obviously with CrowdStrike recently, where everybody's systems went down, courthouses, people couldn't even go to work that day because of a cyber attack. You know, obviously we have situations where obviously the technology such as an EMP does exist. We've seen that the president does have executive orders where they can take over the internet. You know, most people have access to the internet by an internet provider who can, you know, obviously control your access to the internet. So there's some downgrades or some downsides to relying 100% on digital for your financial future and strategy, considering the grid and infrastructure and things of that nature. But you know, that's why, you know, I say you don't want to be all in on one side. You want digital and physical, you know. And the thing is like I said, he makes a good point as far as, you know, the market cap to double. But you know, that's why we talked about silver. You know, we talked about silver being the most undervalued physical asset. You do want to have some gold in your portfolio, but this is not about get rich quick. This is about preserving the purchasing power of your dollars. This is about hedging. This is about diversifying. And one thing about, you know, cryptocurrency is it's new. It's, you know, I'm an advocate for crypto. I continue to get in more crypto every single day, and XRP and other tokens. But
Hmm.
you know, there's no historical track record going back for thousands of years with crypto. You know, crypto came out and blockchain came out in 2009 or so. But gold and silver have been money since the times of Egypt. Gold and silver is God's money. It's from Genesis to Revelations. Gold and silver is constitutional money. Article 1, Section 10 of the U.S. Constitution. Gold and silver is money all around the world. It's acknowledged for value. So,
Hmm.
you know, there's, you know, those are the pros to me. But, you know, everybody to each his own. But I don't see why somebody would not be able to buy Bitcoin and buy silver or gold.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like to say that they have a utility, right? And it's good for you to have, even if you are an investor. So, for example, I say maybe if you had made some profits and then you want to protect the profit you made, like you said earlier, the
Right.
purchasing power, you can move them from whatever you invested into precious metals, and
Yeah.
then you can protect the purchasing power over time. And I always see, you know, gold and silver, like you said, not as an investment, but I see it as wealth, and I see it as
Right.
protect purchasing power.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do out here. You know, when you see the wealthy people and their investments in certain things, you see that they're not really trying. They're trying to protect it, right? That's what these T bills are, right? All right. That's you get a guaranteed return of rate on those, and so people will park a lot of money in there instead of trying to, you know, play the market and do these things. But you know, it has a utility. It is it's one of my
Yeah.
favorite investments. Even I've heard you say, you know, just touching it physically is something about it. Hearing that clink
Yeah.
cling,
So,
just
yeah.
like a
I
bit.
can't do this with Bitcoin. You know what I mean?
You hear
Now
that?
the
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
is,
that. I'd be
yeah,
like, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
the thing is that, you know, like I said before, Bitcoin blockchain technology is new. Okay, gold
Hmm.
and silver is not new. Now, whether he wants to talk about property ownership rights, that's not what we're talking about. Nobody's talking about property ownership rights. We're talking about blockchain technology and Bitcoin is new to the scene. It has not seen war. It hasn't seen the type of crises and things that have happened across the planet to substantiate its long-term viability and stability. It is reliant on the grid that is controlled. So gold and silver have a track record. It doesn't take away from Bitcoin. I like Bitcoin. I like blockchain. But you would, I wouldn't be able to sleep well at night if all I had was my money in digital. You want to have a real solid foundation in something physical as well. But you have Bitcoin maxis out there, and some people are just Bitcoin, 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 and that's their prerogative. Nothing wrong with that.
So let me ask you this. A lot of people in my research over time, a lot of people who are real big on stacking silver, they're also what I would call like survivalists and doomsday preppers and things like that. Is that something that you advocate? Like having enough water and getting your canned goods and having your guns and your ammo, and you know how
Yeah,
they go.
of
Is
course.
that something that you
Right, yeah.
for being prepared?
Yeah, definitely. I was just fixing my rig last night. I got the medical bag rearranged, put some things in there in the medical bag. Made sure I had my night vision and my comms, my Bofang radio, everything charged up.
Hey,
Checked everything. Yeah. I mean, you always got to check your stuff. But obviously, my seeds, non-GMO, heirloom. Seeds, to grow your food and water, access to clean drink, purifying water, ways to purify your water. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm a big advocate in that. You have to prepare for, obviously, if you see where the world is right now and you're not preparing, woe, it's going to be woe unto you at this point because things are not getting better. And then if you listen to wise people like Jim Rickards, they'll tell you that, yeah, everything is going digital. And yeah, so, this is a digital age, but gold and silver will still have value. It is still going to be the underlying foundation to what gives value to the digital. In fact, the digital doesn't even exist without silver. Silver's electrical conductivity and its rate is the best electrical conductive metal. This technology that we're using doesn't exist without these rare earth minerals, silver and probably gold as well. So somebody who, you just have to see the bigger picture,
right.
but every central bank digital currencies, this digital money, it is a secure, way to actually move value around the world. But it will be backed by gold. It will be backed by silver. I mean, the fact is that we just started to show off with an article saying that India just purchased 65% of all of available silver for this year in 1 month. Why would India be buying more silver and gold than they have at any time period history? Why would China be buying more gold and silver than any time? Why would Russia be buying more gold? Why is J.P. Morgan sitting on over 800 million ounces of silver? Why do we have gold in Fort Knox, supposedly, if that's the case, if just gold is going to be worthless? You think it's a psyop game against the people? The people don't have anything anyway. They don't own nothing. So what do you think? It's a psyop? They just want you to think gold and silver has value? People ain't buying gold and silver anyway. So what's the point of the governments and institutions buying gold and silver for if it ain't gonna have no value? Everything's gonna be digital. There's some pieces to the puzzle that is not being considered. If anybody who's looking in that time frame, in that mindset.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you said about the preparedness and having all the stuff that you got. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's dope to hear that, because we also talk about people being prepared, having your stuff, your canned goods, your water, if you have guns, your ammo and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
like the bug out bags, all this stuff. You gotta be prepared for anything that may happen. Now
Mm-hmm.
you as being the gold and silver, do you like any other metals? Do you like the platinum, palladium, or copper, or anything like that?
Yeah. I got some platinum. I was getting about 10,000 platinum here and there every time, and it adds up. So I get some platinum,
Hmm.
mainly silver. I get some gold. Copper, I think is going to be big too. But here's the thing that you have to conceptualize to really help you understand what it is you're getting into. That everything, the dollar will continue to devalue. Okay, the dollar will continue to lose value. So that means assets are going to rise, commodities are going to rise, real world things that have value in the real world are going to rise in dollar terms. So as long as you have something that is of real world value, real use, an asset that is going to do well. But if you're just holding on to dollars, you just got dollars in your savings account or whatever have you, you're going to lose because the dollar's purchasing power is going to continue to decline. So yes,
Hmm.
these metals that are used in industry, you need them. You need the silver, you need the gold, you need the platinum. It just happens that silver is the most affordable, and actually the more valuable, to me, and the most undervalued physical asset on the planet. That's what silver is. Is the most undervalued physical asset on the planet. If you ask me, XRP is the most undervalued digital asset on the planet.
Okay.
But this is the thing that most people don't really know, that gold and silver have multiple uses than just one thing. I mentioned silver as electrical conductivity, but I didn't talk about how silver is antimicrobial, antiviral, antifungal, viral, bacterial, fungal, and I didn't talk about silver's self-healing ability. We didn't talk about silver's use case in just different industries, photography and everything else. So the industrial use, the real world use for silver is in the thousands. So you can't reduce, these metals to one aspect of something and say, well, what happens when that is possibly replaced because of innovation in the marketplace? It is not accounting for the actual real value of what we're talking about.
Hmm. And and that's something we talked about maybe a few shows ago. You probably seen an article about Samsung and the silver use in the EV vehicles,
Solid state
and
batteries,
so
yes, huge.
yeah, and so they talked about how much silver you needed in each battery, and it was a lot. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but it was a lot of silver in each battery, and you could see that the silver, I guess, the need for silver is far beyond the what's coming out of the ground, and you see
Yeah.
this kind of stuff all around with big on solar panels and stuff like that. Do you see things like that forcing the silver squeeze, solar panels, EV batteries? We know our electronics and stuff like that. Do you see that pushing the silver squeeze further?
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly believe that in 2025 we're going to see all-time highs for silver, and that's just $50, which is nothing. It's a mind blowing. Like I said, I mean, we've seen inflation and everything else, except in silver, trillions of dollars printed,
Yeah.
just all kind of manipulation in these markets, and silver hasn't moved at all,
Mhm.
right? So yeah, no, I'm surprised, just at even when we look at this, but I missed that. Say that last part again to your question. I'm sorry, I was trying to bring in some other thoughts to
Oh,
add.
just
Yeah,
oh
say it again.
no. I'm sorry. Just I was thinking. Well, damn. Now I
Solid
forgot.
state batteries, silver squeeze. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So
So this is the thing that people really don't realize. No, I'll try to give so much value and hit so many points because there's a lot of information. And you want to get it to people and make sure they really overstand, because that's the conversation we're having. Like, most people
mhm.
don't even understand what we're talking about, let alone trying to get them to over or understand it. That's next level. But that can be done through, making it make sense, through articulation. And that's what I try to do. I try to really make it make sense to where, the neurons can connect in the brain and then some real action can be taken, because, this is the time that we're in. But the silver squeeze is in full effect. Like I said, the industrial demand for physical silver is going to outpace the supply in 2025. We have the article for that as well. And you just talked
Mhm.
about the massive need for silver and EV and solid state
Yes.
batteries. Obviously, massive demand for solar and silver needed in solar coming out of China and India. And then we just talked about India as well. I mean, 65% in 1 month bought up for the year. I mean, the annual supply, that's huge. That's
Mhm.
not a one-time thing. That this is something that these governments, institutions are doing on a month-to-month basis.
Yeah.
So there's something coming. There's
Mhm.
something coming. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. As I've been reading these articles and seeing things going on, um, as far as this upcoming BRICS conference. So We talk about BRICS a lot on this podcast.
Yeah.
Can you give us in BRICS and the BRICS Plus nations and nations who are looking to be a part of BRICS nations? How do you see BRICS as a threat to the U.S. dollar and as a, I guess, would you say a play, strategic play? Because I see BRICS, the things that they do, as acts of war. And so, what do you think about that?
Well, the world wants to get from up under the control of the central banks and the fiat monetary system. So the dollar, when the dollar is losing value, obviously when the dollar catches a cold, or the U.S. economy catches the cold, the world catches a fever. You know what I mean? Like they're on a deathbed type thing. It's what happens is that the dollar would have never had the world reserve currency status had it not been backed by gold. Coming out of
Mhm.
Bretton Woods, we had the military and we had the economy, but the world would have never accepted the United States dollar as a world reserve currency status had it not been backed by gold. And in 1971, Richard Nixon suspended the convertibility of the dollar into gold, making it a fiat currency. But then we had the petrodollar, where now everybody, where there was no demand for the dollar because it wasn't backed by gold, they created a demand for the dollar because the world needs oil. Oil is the lifeblood of every economy. But now we have, as of relatively recently, I can't remember the exact date. It could have been this year, I think this year or last year. But the contract that Saudi Arabia had to only sell oil in dollars, they did not renew it. So
Mhm.
what you're seeing is the world de-dollarizing, getting away from the dollar, for their own benefit, for their economy, for their people, because the United States has weaponized the monetary system.
Yeah.
They're telling what countries can use the SWIFT payment system. They weaponize the dollar. Excuse me. They weaponize the SWIFT payment system. If you don't, now countries are looking at what the West is doing and the sanctions that they're doing, and they're saying, well, hold on, what if we don't agree with one of your policies at a UN vote? Are you saying all of a sudden you might take us off of and limit our ability to conduct global trade and commerce and adversely affect our people and our economy? So, it's not an even, fair playing field. And the world wants to have something that's more equitable and fair for everybody. And that's what the BRICS bloc alliance is about. And they want to use stable currencies. They want to have a stable, safe, secure, fast, efficient way to conduct trade and commerce around the world without having to deal with the tyranny that exists in the system today.
And I recently read an article about the Chinese yuan being the second most used currency for payment settlements in the world, passing the euro. And what do you think about that? Is it creeping up? Is it gonna
Yeah,
get past the dollar and be the most used currency in the world?
I don't think, from what I understand, they have the ability to really replace, because they don't have a real bond market. There's some things that they would need to do to really make that happen. But what people have to understand is that the G7 nations are in a decline. In fact, as far as GDP, the GDP of the G7 nations is in a decline, while the GDP of the BRICS nations is in growth. They're accelerating. So, in fact, the BRICS nations are doing better than the G7 nations currently. They are at their
Mhm.
growth. The growth of the BRICS countries is greater than the G7 nations. And a lot of the G7 nations, okay, Canada, America, and the West, right? They are heavily in debt, while the BRICS nations are not as in much debt, and their economies are growing, and they have more people, and they have less debt. They're going to be able to grow at a faster rate, because they don't have so much of a burden and challenge that we have here in the States. But this is the thing: the dollar won't go away tomorrow. The dollar will still be here, but it's what will it buy you? What is the purchasing power? How many dollars will you need to keep a roof over your head or buy a loaf of bread? Could it be that the wheelbarrow full of money, the money is worthless and the wheelbarrow is more valuable? We've seen that throughout history, but that doesn't mean the dollar went away. And the dollar will still be around, I believe, but it just you won't have enough dollars to maintain a decent standard of living.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
get to some of these comments. I want to ask you something though, because you just mentioned it. Recently, there was a post out by President Bukele of El Salvador, and he said that he had gotten his country so they're gonna have no debt with the 2025 and 2025, and
Yeah.
then you juxtapose that with the United States having $35 trillion worth of debt.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people maybe call him a dictator or something like that. What do you think about the things that he's done to turn his nation state around?
Well, yeah, I mean, a nation at no debt is going to thrive in ways that a nation with $35 trillion in debt, as you project that out over time, in ways that you couldn't imagine. I mean, debt is what enslaves a nation. It enslaves its
Mm,
people, and that's what the Federal Reserve was set up to do: to enslave the nation, enslave its people through debt and interest. And to this point, they are succeeding. But we're at a moment in history. We're at a time in history where there's an opportunity amongst this crisis to do something that people could have never thought they'd been able to do, and create real generational wealth that they never thought they would have been able to create because of the information that's available, because of the access to the assets that are available right now. But obviously, that's a good thing. If you can get out of debt, then it's going to be easier for you to grow,
mhm.
and that's a good thing for their people. But yeah, the national debt right now is a crisis. I mean, the United States, the national debt is increasing by $1 trillion every 100 days. Every
Yes.
100 days, there's $1 trillion added to the debt. And then the interest payment alone, just the interest payment for the year on the debt is about $1 trillion. So we're on a totally unsustainable fiscal path. And that's why I pulled that Phoenix bird up earlier. The
Yeah.
fiat currencies are going to burn, and out of that is going to show you a gold digital system. You know,
Mhm.
yeah, blockchain digital system, definitely.
Yeah, that's definitely heavy. And I'm a big supporter of El Salvador. We've been there uh, a couple of times and went down to see what was going on, and how the environment felt. And for people who don't know, El Salvador does not have their own national currency, so they have to use the U.S. dollar. And that's one of the things that President Bukele was trying to do, is have Bitcoin be legal tender so they can get away from the U.S. dollar. And
Hmm.
so we used it. We used it. It's a little difficult. It's a little difficult back then, but it's going to get smoother. And I think it's a great place. There's a lot of people down there moving from the West, like you said, United States, Canada, and places like that. And so I really am a big fan of El Salvador and the things that he's done to clean up the country and all the violence. So, as a person who lives in the United States, do you think it's necessary to have somewhere else, maybe that you can, a landing spot or somewhere where you can, go to and lay low? That's what I call it, laying low, or just to get up out of the United States and the things that they have going on.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. You want to have a contingency plan. You want to have emergency plan. You want to have a backup plan. And I think that if the conditions here did get so bad, you want to have the ability to go somewhere else. So yeah, I think that's a very wise thing to do. But like you said, I mean, countries are de-dollarizing, and that's just a mechanism of de-dollarizing. Whether they want to use Bitcoin, which can be very slow sometimes and very expensive. There are some upgrades that need to take place. Okay. So the Bitcoin is not the best solution all the time for every scenario, but it is a solution. And I think that's what the world wants. It comes down to options. People just want options. Don't lock me into a fiat currency. Give me
Mhm.
the option to pay in something of value in the physical gold and silver. Give me an option to pay of something in the valuable in the digital, Bitcoin or whatever other digital asset you want to pay in, that is obviously going to rise in purchasing power or value against a declining fiat currency. It just comes down to options. And prior to blockchain, the world didn't have too much options. They only had gold and silver, but
Yeah.
the banks had the gold and silver market rigged. They're manipulating the spot price, the paper derivative contract price on the market. So there was some challenges there in that mannerism. But now with blockchain, and then still having real money, God's money, gold and silver added
Hmm.
into that, like Jim Ricker said, the ability for central banks and governments to do trade in the world, they actually have a viable option to do that outside of the dollar and the SWIFT system.
Okay. That
Yeah,
sounds great. Yeah, yeah, because you got to move outside of Swift now, and I see a
yeah,
lot of people making that move. So I wanted to go back to our friend of the show, Jake Fever. He says 43% of the world's silver is jewelry, and 50% of the world's gold is jewelry. Gold and silver, not something that I would be getting too much of. Give me the Bitcoin.
yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, I
but
mean, yeah, at some point, some people have a fixed mindset, and there's no type of data or analysis, or none of the variables are really considered. So that's why I say to each his own. Some people are Bitcoin maxis, maybe not just Bitcoin maxis, Bitcoin maxis squared. And that's their prerogative. But anybody who would try to say that gold and silver is not going to have value in the future, and only Bitcoin is going to have value, is just probably not really considering um, the global economy and how things actually are going to run, considering. But yeah, I mean, yeah, silver and gold are massively, well, especially silver, undervalued assets, and it's something that people want to have. It's real money, constitutional money, God's money. It's how you're going to preserve your wealth.
mhm.
Yeah,
And when you say preserve your wealth, that is the name of the game, right?
wealth preservation.
Wealth
Yes.
preservation. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's definitely what it's about.
Yeah.
And so I follow you on, I think it's Facebook mostly. I follow you on Facebook. I see your lives with
Yeah.
uh with the big homie Mike Dart, and I see you guys talking. So um what is your goal in what you guys do and the information that you give out? What is your goal?
Yeah, the goal is to educate, inspire, and empower. I mean, I think it's about maybe 60 or 70% of people are financially illiterate. I think the same amount, 60 or 70% of people don't have internal monologue. They don't think. So a lot of people don't really understand what's going on in the world, especially the monetary system. They don't understand fractional reserve lending. They don't understand that the dollar is fiat currency. People are just becoming aware of inflation. So it's really about educating the masses on the monetary system, and letting them know their options, because that's really what it comes down to. We just want people to have options. We tell people all the time, if you're relying on one stream of income, you're a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah,
You have to have create additional streams of income. You have to preserve your wealth. You have to get real money. Most people don't understand that there's no real money in circulation. It's all debt. The dollar is a unit of debt. So we want to help people just kind of understand, become more financially literate, get real assets, get real money, preserve their wealth, and profit and from this global reset, this monetary reset, and make sure that a wealthy family comes from them, even if they didn't come from a wealthy family.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely build wealth, and we always talk about building wealth generationally. I always talk about, I have four sons. How old are my sons? 23, 16, 13, and 7. So we have four
Mhm.
sons. We're always thinking about our children, but our children's children, right? Our
Yeah.
grandchildren. And, I say, we purchase this stuff with people who aren't here yet, but will be here. You know how that goes, right?
Yeah.
I figure if I have four sons, I'm gonna have a whole bunch of grandchildren eventually, and so
Right.
we always have that in mind, purchasing wealth for our grandchildren, and I think that's important because you and I know a lot of people didn't leave any wealth to us. We just came up, and then people just tell you like, well, you got to get it like we got it. And so we
Right.
we came out here, and then we're working hard to get it. But I wanted to have the plan where our grandchildren don't have to do it like that. Well, so what do you think about generational wealth and just building up for people who aren't here yet? And which is hard for people to hear. Like, why should I buy some silver and gold for somebody I don't even know exist yet.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of we have another saying. We say that a lot of people think they're saving silver, but it might be silver that end up saving you. Um,
Here we go.
yeah, yeah, no, generational wealth is real. And for those who have been touched by in the heart and in their mind and their spirit to leave a legacy for their loved ones,
Hmm.
this is how you do it. This is the time to do it. Not everybody has that inclination or that desire, like you just so expressed. But this is the time to do it. And if you want to make sure that you are leaving something of value that would transcend events that would take place on the planet, if you're here or not, gold and silver is one of those best things.
Hmm.
Gold, like I said, the track record for gold and silver is thousands of years. Technology is relatively new. And we don't know what type of environment the world is going to be in, given the war scenario and the technology and things that are taking place. So those are some risk to that. But
Hmm.
gold and silver will always have value, no matter where you are in the world. It's biblical money, and in the times that we're in, this is what we were told to get for those who believers, to get gold. So, and I would add silver to that. But yeah, this is how you secure your wealth. The wealthy have been securing their wealth in gold and precious metals for centuries.
Hmm.
It's a time tested way. Uh, Anything else, especially digital, is new. Not that it can't be a legacy creator, but we just the future is it's still charting its course.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, it just doesn't have gold and silver just doesn't have that issue.
Yeah, it doesn't. And like I said, I keep articles, and I didn't want to bog you down with articles, but I got this article that says that no, I'm sorry, silver is forming a 40-year cup and handle. So when you, what I like to tell people, zoom out, right? And if you look at a chart from a 40-year perspective, and you see that chart pattern, right? You can't see that chart pattern on digital currencies because that much time they haven't been around for that much time, right? And so what you're
Yeah,
saying is the time that they have been around is important to look at
yeah,
because they've been through things like you said, wars and poverty and depressions and all this stuff, and came out on the other side. So yes, I definitely agree with that. So let me ask you this: when did you get into gold and silver? Like, what got you into it?
After 2008, 2011, I got really educated, even more than I was on the monetary system, and realized that how you bet against the debt is with gold and silver. It's real money. That's how you preserve your wealth. It's insurance. It's a way you save your money. It's not an investment. So it was really 2008 that kind of woke me up to the monetary system, because I just saw the average person, even family members, who got the short end of the stick while Wall Street got bailed out, Main Street, got foreclosed on, and so in that discovery, I realized it's God's money. It's gold and silver that people want to have. In fact, over the last 20 years or so, gold and silver is doing about 10%, year over year, over the last 20%, over the last 20 years.
Hmm.
Um, so it's not an investment, but it still increases in value. And the reason it increases in value because a dollar continues to decrease in value. So if
Yes.
you understand that the dollar is going to continue to be devalued, then you understand that gold and silver is going to continue to increase in value and continue to preserve, your money, preserve
Okay.
your money. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So, good friend of the show, T. Willine, spoke in the chat. He said, "Are you saying war could ruin Earth so bad that tech would be destroyed?"
No, the thing is that it's just a lot of risk and variables out there. I mean, even right now, while people are focused on Diddy, you got yeah, everybody's focused on Diddy, but the UN right now is trying to take away our sovereignty. The
Yes.
UN wants, they're trying to set it up to where our constitution, our rights don't matter during the next pandemic. They can take over this country. And so you people just don't understand that, even with depending on who's the president. I mean, this president has said that, well, the vice president who wants to be president is not for your constitutional rights. She's, if people have really listened to what she said in different interviews about going into your home and taking your guns and all type of stuff that is just not what America represents. So the thing is that the future is not clear. And like I mentioned before, whether we talk about CrowdStrike, what happened with the computer systems around the world, okay,
Mm-hmm.
around the world, okay, whether we talk about right now we have massive immigration crisis right now, millions of people across the border, and we don't
Yeah.
know who they are, how trained they are, but it's well known that we have 4 main power grids here in the U.S. You take out one of these on the East Coast, the whole East Coast is down.
Mm-hmm.
Right now they're talking about, we're poking the bear right now with considering letting Ukraine strike deep into Russia with our missiles. Acts like this it's an act of war. If there's an EMP that goes off in the upper atmosphere over the United States, the EMP could just go up in the upper atmosphere of the United States. That's it. You don't have access to your electronics. You don't have access to your digital money.
Yeah.
Executive orders already in place for them to take over the internet. In wartime, they can limit your ability to access certain websites. They can limit your access to do certain things. So, they control the internet. All right. The blockchain doesn't exist without the internet. Internet doesn't exist without silver. I just try to consider some variables
Yeah.
and risks that are out there that people aren't considering when you're just doing all digital. And
Mm-hmm.
not that I don't have digital. I'm a big believer in blockchain. I get cryptocurrency every week on automatic.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
just I just don't understand the opposite side where they say only blockchain and you don't need silver and gold. It seems very short sighted to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It does. So, Crypto Rick, I know you have a family, uh, and you say your contingency plan. How do you see, like, maybe teaching your family about these things that you speak to us about? I know I try to teach my children, and there's a level of they don't really care because they don't really understand the importance of it. But
Mm.
how do you see going about teaching maybe family about the importance of gold, silver, and even Bitcoin and digital currencies?
You can do the best you can, but unfortunately, you can't save everybody. You know what I mean? And as much as we love our loved ones and relatives, you do the best you can. But it's those who have eyes to see, ears to hear. In their spirit, people are tapping into this information. But I mean, even adults now who hear this information, they're suffering from cognitive dissonance. They have a normalcy bias, complacency bias. They're being attacked with the water they're drinking, calcifying their pineal gland with the
Yeah,
fluoride. They're being attacked with the food they're eating. You can have the best intentions for somebody, even loved ones. But they say you can take the camel to the water, but you can't make them drink it. But
yeah,
you just lead by example, and you do the best that you can to set up the trust, to set up the foundation, to create the mechanism where they are allotted a certain amount of the money or assets over a course of period of time. And you put in these kind of parameters and mechanisms where they aren't allowed to do certain things in the future that you can foresee that they might do, and that can just get rid of the legacy that you've created. So you have to kind of account for those variables and kind of protect and against those measures the best you can, but just lead by example. And if they're inquisitive, they're going to want to learn and find out. But that's what I would say.
is that why you walk around with 100-ounce silver bars, clinking them? Is
But
that's how
but
you
I
doing
can't walk around. These things is heavy. I couldn't walk around with these too long. I'm telling you right now, these is not
that boy
light.
be clinking them? It sounds like a train, like ding ding ding.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just you gotta. I tell people, I say this all the time. I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And I'd rather be 1 year or even 2 years too early to the largest wealth transfer in history than one
Yeah.
day too late.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so Jake Fevers, man. Jake Fevers in here heavy, man. He wants to know.
He's
Uh,
enjoying the show. That's good. He's still here.
yeah. He says silver and gold haven't changed anyone's life in a significant way in 2,000 years. Bitcoin made life changes for far more people.
I would have to say that's his opinion, and he's entitled to his opinion. We don't have to get
Okay.
into the nuances of that. But it's apparent that he loves Bitcoin. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, yeah, I love Bitcoin. I'm a huge Bitcoin. They probably gonna call me a maxi because I don't like
He's a
too many
maxi
other
square.
coins. But I do love precious metals because
Yeah,
I see value in it, and I see utility in
yeah,
precious metals and stuff like that, especially when you have a family. So I've talked about this before, but I'll go into it again. So we have had family members who pass away, right? And they have some type of insurance with an insurance company. And then we go in and we have to fight the company and come up with all the paperwork and all this stuff. And the insurance that you're supposed to get gets pushed out 6, 7, 8 months, something like that. And I always say if you had a duffel bag of silver, the same amount of that insurance, your family members, usually a wife, could just put her hands on that money right now without going through paperwork and legal and all this stuff. And so I always put silver away for my wife, just playing the numbers and so that she can put her hands on something right now. Not waiting for the life insurance, not waiting for somebody to get back to you. I'm in Mexico, all the stuff is coming in Spanish. So what do you think about that as having like maybe silver physically in your home so that a family member, if in a crisis, could touch it?
yeah. I mean, obviously, just the way you articulate it, it makes sense.
Hmm.
Gold and silver is easy liquidatable, but obviously, you can put your hands on it.
Yeah.
When you need to. If you got your money in the banks, the banks are closed on the weekends or whatever have you. All this kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, no, that's a wise thing to do. um you
Hmm.
know that's one of the reasons that we have it, to in those times of need. You have access and you have real money. You got that physical silver and that gold for them. So yeah, that makes sense to me.
And also, I would say this too because we've done shows on this about being prepared. Is that when people die and their paperwork isn't right, their assets end up in probate court. And so then now you got to go to court and you got to fight, if it's your mother or something like that, you got to go fight for the assets that she had. And you have to prove that you have rights to them and all that, where you wouldn't want your wife or something, your children going to probate court. You want them just to have it, right in the house and they can, do what they want. And when you go to probate court, the tax situation, because say somebody left you $100,000 in life insurance, you have to take that whole 100,000, right? But if you got $100,000 in silver, you can go sell 5,000 if that's all you need right now. And they
Mhm.
force you to take that 100,000 and then they put it on top of you, as far as your income and stuff like that. And it becomes a big, big problem tax
Right.
wise. And
Mhm.
so I like to see people having that, as a safety net for their family. And we have to be thinking about our family. And people like you educate us so that we understand these things and we know how to move.
Yeah, yeah. The other thing that bothers me with that is, when I think about insurance or decades down the line, I do not
Hmm.
have faith or confidence in the purchasing power of the dollar, especially 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now, 50 years, when say that loved one passes away and you need to cash in that life insurance. I mean, we're seeing inflation is getting ready to take off here. The Federal Reserve has already committed to cutting rates well into 2025. The money printers are back on. We're already seeing inflation, cost of living. We're seeing record debt, household debt, corporate debt, student loan debt, credit card debt.
Hmm.
The economy is not well. We're seeing the de-dollarization. So I don't have faith in the purchasing power of the dollar. So that's the only challenge I have as well with that when it comes to collecting on the insurance. $100,000 today doesn't buy you what it bought you 30 years ago.
Not at all.
So in the next 30 years, and God forbid something happen, you need to claim on that insurance on the loved one. What is the purchasing power of that $100,000 at that point, if there is any?
Yeah.
30 years from now. It's a lot. It's a lot going on right now. I can't even imagine what the purchasing power of the dollar, if there is any purchase
Yeah.
power at all, 30 years from now.
Yeah,
10
man.
years from
You definitely right about that. I tell people you could, probably build your own life insurance and things like that by having assets and having assets that don't have to be fought for and things like that. Like I said, through court, you have to prove everything. So
now.
my man
Let me,
Jake is in here.
uh,
He said you might have cash. They said they're gonna tax people at the pawn shops, trade silver or gold. I say, well, I sell my
yeah.
silver to the cartel, so
Well,
I get a discount, Jake. So, but
yeah.
that's dangerous. Everybody can't do that, but
Well, no, once again, it just comes down to really understanding and lack thereof of the subject matter at hand. I don't sell
mm-hmm,
gold and silver. I leverage it. It's an asset. Like if you need to
mm-hmm,
take out money from your house, do you sell your house or do you borrow against your house? You borrow
right,
against it generally, unless you want to sell it. My gold and silver, I don't sell it. I borrow against it. It's an asset. It's real money. The credit comes from the money. Okay. The dollar had value because it was backed by money. The gold and the silver are the money. So you don't have to sell your asset.
yeah,
And these type of arguments are not reasons to not have gold and silver, because obviously you're going to pay a tax on the crypto, or you're going to pay a tax on the dollar, or whatever have you. So it's just conjecture. It's just for the sake of creating an argument, at this point.
yeah, and
But it
and
makes
like
great
you,
it makes great for great content. So
yeah, and I'm sure that that when you do sell your Bitcoin, it's taxed as property, right? So um, you're going to be taxed anyway. So no matter what you sell and what you do. Now, if you're bartering your silver and gold, that's a different thing. You might not be taxed. If you're sending like your Bitcoin from wallet to wallet, you might not be taxed. You won't be taxed. So Crypto Rick, for somebody like you who does services for people and you had your preferred method of payment, what would you want?
if I was to pay somebody right now,
No, if somebody was to pay you, say you did something for them, do you
okay,
want $100 in cash? Do you want $100 worth of
whatever,
Bitcoin? Do you want
what,
$100 worth of silver?
yeah, whatever they're able to pay in, because I know how to convert liabilities into asset. So if you gave
But
me
if,
$100 in
they're
cash,
saying if they're saying I'll pay you in whatever method you like, what would you like?
so if they have the ability to pay me in Bitcoin or silver or cash or whatever have
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
I would, depending on who it is, it really doesn't matter. I would take what they can give me. If they can give me cash, I'll take the cash. If they can give me silver, I would take the silver.
okay,
Here's the thing about it. The thing is that obviously we still need cash, because most of your bills and everything is paid in cash. It's not paid in Bitcoin. It's not paid
right.
in gold and silver. So
Mm-hmm.
so so cash flow is king. You still need cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
Your emergency fund should be in cash.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point in time, we still are using fiat to handle majority of things of our day-to-day lives. What a majority of the people are, you have some people who live in just off crypto. You have some people who just living off gold and silver. But in
Mm-hmm.
general, we're still using cash. So, I would take the cash and I will convert it into assets as I see fit.
Mm. So part of your contingency plan is also, outside of having water, canned goods, these things like that, is to have ability to cash, so that you can handle business
Yeah, you want to have
because
an emergency fund. You have to have an emergency fund in cash. At this stage, what I mean, like you still want to be able, if you have your car breaks down, right? You need some work on your car. You should have some cash that you can just touch. You
yeah.
should have an emergency fund. You shouldn't have to go, because the whole thing is you don't want to sell your assets. You're buying
Mm,
crypto, you're buying gold and silver, not to sell it. You want to hold it, leverage it, borrow against it. You want to build wealth in it. You want to accumulate more of it. People don't really want to spend it. I mean,
mhm,
people pay in crypto, but why pay in crypto when I can give you fiat? I want to keep my crypto, you know. So that's just kind of how I see it.
Okay. And you know that when you well, like I said, the contingency plan of having cash. Do you have like an amount that you feel people should
It's
have
basically
on the
it's everybody's different. Everybody's financial situation is different. But
side?
they
Okay.
generally they say you should have 3 to 6 months, emergency fund cash on hand. But everybody's scenario, I
Mhm.
mean, look, people aren't even saving 1 ounce of silver a month right now. They're not even getting 1 ounces. People have no savings. The data right now that's coming out, I mean,
Mhm.
average person don't got $1,000 in their savings account, man. People are living check to check. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
middle class right now. The economy is bad. So,
Yeah.
people aren't even, in that position, to even start thinking about saving. They're check to check, and then if they do save, they don't understand or realize why they need to save in gold and silver versus just saving in cash. But I mean, yeah, everybody ideally should have an emergency fund. Ideally, they should be saving in silver and gold, and ideally they should be investing in blockchain and cryptocurrency.
Definitely. And
Yeah.
so for my young ones who are coming up and they don't have families yet, they don't have children yet. My
Hmm.
oldest son is a professor at the university. He teaches
Hmm.
English and business communications. He gets paid, and he just he put his pesos. He keeps his pesos at home, right? And then what we do is he'll give me pesos so I can have pesos on hand, and then I'll invest for him, right? And when we get an opportunity to talk to the young people and tell them, hey, do this at a very young age, younger than we started. And that way you'll be way ahead of the game when you get my age. Do you give that information out to people to let them know, like, I caught it maybe a little later, but you got it now and you caught it early and you can build on it and, it'll build faster because of age difference.
Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, you give out that information. And the beautiful thing about your previous question is, if I set a price on something, I can choose a price and I can get paid in that price. But the thing is like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I want you to pay me right now, Brother Simon, I want you to pay me for this services that I provided in an ounce of silver. Just give me an ounce of silver. That's the payment.
Okay.
You see, people value their wealth in dollars. That's why, I don't value my wealth in dollars per se. I value it in ounces. How many ounces of silver I got? I value my wealth in acreage. How much land? I value my wealth in quantity. How much Bitcoin or Ethereum or XRP or XLM, the quantity of crypto. That's how you should value your wealth in this reset moving forward, because a dollar is not a unit of wealth. But yes, that education, that information that you're saying, it's going to be much greater for people, and you should share it. And the people that get it earlier on in life obviously are going to benefit greater than those who get it later for that time factor.
Yes, indeed. And for the audience and for our brother Ricardo, I am going to pay him in some sort of asset for his knowledge and information and his time, because we know time is our most valuable asset, because we don't know when it ends. So I'm definitely going to you let me know how I can compensate you for all
Yeah.
your information, because I follow you and I see the game you be dropping and stuff like that. And I that we go all the way back to 7K, if you remember them days.
Yeah.
7K in Red Pill. Red Pill. Shout out to Red Pill.
Yeah.
We go back
Right.
to them
Right. Right.
days. So yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah,
right.
definitely. Yes.
Yeah, no, brother. I mean,
So
hey, I send you a USDT address. I mean, this is the thing about the new economy. It's not a fixed thing. I can
mhm.
send you. It's so and that's what it's coming down to. It's not this or that. It's about having options. So
Yeah,
yeah, brother.
it is. It is about having options, and it's about being able to move around. I think being able to move around the world and having certain things that work in one place and work in another place, and you just diversified. You're ready. You're ready for anything that you encounter.
Yeah,
So I love your take on it, and
yeah,
like you said, people fight back on precious metals, but they have a utility. and you just want to have some just in case, just in case. And I love to have Bitcoin. I mean, I'm a
Everything isn't for
Bitcoin.
everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and
you're fine.
I talk to the people, I'm not. I've never told nobody what to do with your money because, like you said, every situation is different, right? So you have as much as you need and for what you need to do. And so, what I said about the Bitcoin thing is, like we just talked about, if something
Mhm.
happened to you tomorrow, you got to make sure people got the keys. They know where to
Right.
go get it, what
See,
wallets in, and all these things like that. So
and
when
that's
I
not
we
that's not easy. Well, it is
no,
for
it's not. It's
people, but it's not. They don't know how to do that stuff. Seed phrases, moving crypto around, especially if you talking about moving on different blockchains and
yeah,
things of this nature. So yes, it can get pretty technical. It can get really technical, and that could be a challenge and a hindrance. For mass adoption and for people to be able to use it. But it's inevitable. We are moving into a blockchain digital revolution, and once again, it comes
mm,
down to options. It's come down to options. And so the new monetary system is going to be blockchain, and it's going to be precious metals. That's the new monetary system. It's not going to be fiat, and that's the main point.
not gonna be fiat. Let me ask
Yeah,
you. I'm gonna try to let you go, man. I done held you up,
sir.
for an hour and 20 minutes. But I wanted to ask you this question because I hear this from a lot of people. He People say that Bitcoin itself is
Mhm.
like the internet. Eventually, you will have to integrate it into your business and into your life. And I
Mhm.
remember coming up when the internet was coming out and nobody wanted to deal with it. But I was in high school, so we learned how to deal with it early. Do you think Bitcoin is that integral that 15, 20 years from now, everybody needs to have it in their business, take payments in it, hold it as a treasury reserve asset and things like that?
Well, look, like somebody said in the chat as well, Bitcoin and everything has its flaws. There's pros and cons to everything. It was stated earlier somewhere, but the point is, everything has its pros and cons. And just like when
Hmm.
you walk into a business today, they'll take check, they'll take money order, maybe they'll take cash, they'll take Apple Pay, they'll take maybe crypto, they'll take gold and silver. I mean, that's what I was talking about. It's just going to come down to options.
Yeah.
um yeah, and that's just really what it comes down to. It's going to come down to options. But those are challenges. But I think that the blockchain isn't going anywhere. It's not even about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a part of the blockchain. The blockchain
Yes.
is going to revolutionize every area of human activity. The blockchain is going to revolutionize every area of human activity. So it's bigger than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just a layer to the blockchain, but blockchain is going to change the world. And so it's
Mm.
important that people understand blockchain, but yes, also as well how to move your money around, because that's one of the biggest disruptors, which is moving your crypto around on the blockchain, and it won't just be Bitcoin.
Okay, let me go into the comments. These guys are crazy. So he says, Simon could have paid him in silver, but
Mhm.
it had Atmax mail it, but no. So I guess you didn't want me to mail you any silver, is what he's saying. And
Well, the fact of the matter is, brother, you can pay me in silver if you like, or you can pay me in blockchain and crypto, because I'm an advocate for both. So I
okay,
think that that might have went over his head from this whole conversation, that I believe you should have diversified options in blockchain and precious metals, and then
yeah,
whatever form of payment is easier, then that is the one that should be exercised. But if somebody has a preference and they want to pay you in silver, I'm going to take the silver. If they want to, if they want to pay me, or if they can't pay me in crypto, I'm going to have them pay me crypto, because guess what? I can easily convert my crypto into gold and silver. Just
right.
and I can get it more instantaneous than actually having used a mailing system. So that's an
Mhm.
actual benefit to blockchain and crypto. Uh, Nobody's denied the ability of and the value and the use case of blockchain and crypto on this live stream at all, to replace or take away about gold and silver. So no, I don't get the point. Besides making a point.
And our favorite Jake Fever, seed phrases is just as hard as finding a place to sell 10,000 kilos of silver. Um,
I don't know. I can if I need to sell 10,000 kilos of silver, I'm sure I
yeah,
can sell that pretty easily. Um, I
yeah, I
don't know
don't see
about
a
C
problem.
phrases. Hard. I don't know about what that is. C phrases just as hard, but
It's hard to memorize
yeah.
them. I think that's what he was saying. You got to have them
Okay.
written down somewhere in the place
Yeah,
where,
that is right. So that's a drawback to.
yeah,
I guess he's saying that as a drawback to blockchain. I guess I'm not sure, but
yeah, I think so. But you have to be prepared when you have stuff like that, and we talk about it with our children. I have a place where, like I say, my eldest son, he's 22 or 23. I stopped counting, and he has the keys. He knows everything that happens. My wife and I, we travel together. So if something happened to us, and neither one, he's got it. He got it. He know what to do. He got
yeah,
extra debit card. He got everything. He got all type of cards and stuff like that that
yeah.
we get from these different exchanges. He could manage the money. And so I tell them all the time, this is, make sure you know this, make sure you know where to get this. And so they're safe in that regard, because we know if it's like, say something happened to you and you didn't pass on the keys, then isn't it gone?
It's
Is it?
gone.
I heard of companies that could recover it. I'm like, man, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's gone. You lose the C phrases, or somebody get access to your C phrases. They got access to your wallet, and your money's gonna be gone. Your crypto's gonna be gone. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
just the fact of the matter.
Yeah, so
Um,
you definitely have to have people who you're going to leave your wealth to prepared, and that's
yeah.
why I say I like to have physical silver in the house so people can put their hands on it, and and that's just different for everybody, right? Everybody has a different situation, different family setup, things going on, but I want them to be prepared just in
Mhm.
case anything die. And I'm gonna get up out of here just for um just for crypto Rick. I don't know. I guess apparently this is what they tell me. Apparently, about 2 months ago, I almost died. I don't know, and I was really sick. I was in the hospital. I had a really bad infection in my blood, and so had to go to the hospital. Had to stay there for a couple weeks. Had to get
Sorry. I'm
a
glad you're
couple
strong, though.
pints of blood and stuff, all that. But
Right.
as I was there, and I didn't really know what was going to happen, I was comfortable that everybody was set up if worst case scenario happened, and
Mhm.
so that let me know, yeah, I've been working in the right direction, because if something would have happened there, I knew my wife and my children was set up and ready to go, and so that's why I continue to do this. I'm like, yeah, I'm on the right path, because I was given a look and said, yeah, everybody's okay, even though um, I wasn't okay, but you know what I'm saying. But I'm good now. I'm good now. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back 100%. I'm ready to
We
go.
thank
But
God. We thank God. Yeah, definitely.
I'm ready to
Yeah.
go. But
They
yeah,
need it out here, brother.
yeah, so I was it made me feel good that they were ready and everything was in position. And I'm gonna always work in that direction to make sure everybody is in position so
Yeah.
they'll be okay, right? Because like we said, we know how it goes. Usually the husband's gonna die before the wife and before the children. And so I've been seeing a lot of people who have passed away, and they're not leaving anything for their children, and they're leaving just a big mess. GoFundMe's, they can't pay for the funeral,
Right.
a whole bunch of credit card bills and things like that. What do you think about that? As their preparation, trying to, as my wife would say if she was here, transition, and you leave this mess and headache to your family.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our people are far behind, and you're touching on points that are real factor. Is a real thing even today. But this is why some of us are blessed and fortunate enough to have the ability to really see what's going on and actually make a change and do something different. So our future generations won't be in those same positions. This is what this show is about. Getting assets and creating that legacy and hedging against these unfortunate events that come up in life. But yeah, it's the challenges that we have today, and it comes from lack of financial literacy, lack of proper planning, and things of this nature. So no, I agree with you. I agree with you that is a challenge, but we have to make those changes, and getting informed and educated, and what we're doing right now is one of those ways, definitely.
And yeah, yes, indeed. And shout out to Jake Fever. He's saying the truth right here. Um, because we had to pay out of pocket for the Mexican hospital stay, we used some Bitcoin to pay for the hospital stay. And
Nice.
so yeah, we had to, but I keep
Yeah.
some Bitcoin and assets on deck so that we just for emergencies. I didn't know it was
Right.
gonna be my emergency. I'm thinking it might be the family, but it's for whoever needs it. And we did have to use some to pay these doctors and stuff like that. And I was in the
Yeah.
ICU, so and all this medication. So we had to take care of that, but we used a lot of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And and
And
and
that's the
definitely
point. The point is you want to have options. Now you could have paid in silver because you got silver too. Depending on
yeah.
how much you had, but you chose to pay in Bitcoin. But the whole point is
Mhm.
that you had options. You know what I mean? And that's what it
Yes.
comes down to. People want to have the options, to be able to make these payments. Because I pay and stuff in crypto too, and sometimes, you might there's certain assets you're willing to sell and let go of, and certain assets you don't want to sell and let go of.
Yeah.
I spend my crypto before I spend my silver and gold. You
Hmm.
know, um, and that's what you've done. You spent your crypto before you actually spent your silver and gold. So that's
This
a statement is a statement in itself. But the point is that you had options,
yeah.
and that's a beautiful thing.
And let me ask you this. So we talked to CEO of Miles Franklin. His name is Andy Scheckman, and he says one of the things about owning precious metals, and as opposed to maybe a digital currency or something like that, is that
Mm.
it's harder to liquidate, so that you will maybe hold on to it
Yeah,
before
yeah,
you can just liquidate something digitally, and it
yeah.
makes you keep your silver and gold, right? Because if you want to liquidate silver, I guess it depends on where it's at, but say you only have physical silver, you got to go somewhere and you got to physically sell
Got
it.
to convert it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and if you got
that stops you from doing impulse buying. But that's why most
yeah,
people.
that's exactly what he was saying. Impulse
That's why
buying is
most people. Yeah, that's why most people can't save cash. Cash is too easily spendable. Because cash is for spending, it's not for saving. So the ability
hmm
of saving your money and go to silver, it creates that barrier. It creates that extra step that actually needs to be taken before you can actually act on what is usually an impulse. Because a lot of times we say we need something. I need a vacation. I've been working so hard, and and so you might think about actually selling that gold or silver to do that. But if you have the cash, it's just like that. But if you actually have to go and convert it to silver, you might stop and think for a second. All right, do I really need to do this? Because now I got to go do this and that and this and that, which means you're
yeah.
gonna hold on to the asset because people are impulsive. And
hmm
because most people don't know how to save. We have a savings crisis right now in America, but they're
hmm
saving in silver. People who have been running with us for a long time now have saved way more money than they ever saved in silver and gold than they ever been able to save in cash in their whole entire life. So saving in gold and silver is the premier vehicles of saving. It's how you save your money. It's not an investment. It's how you save your money.
Okay. Thank you for being here. I want to just get you out of here on this one
Yeah.
question because it's something that I had been reading about. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's coming from the Daily Huddle. And
Okay.
they're talking about how, I guess, baby boomers are going back to work and people don't have enough money to retire. So there was two articles. There was one that was just an article written by and the person, and then there was another one where Robert Kiyosaki was talking about people who are baby boomers do not have enough money to retire and they have to return to work. And I've talked about it with Aaron, and we've talked about this generation of baby boomers not really having what they need to retire in retirement assets or anything. And secondly, a lot of people in the baby boomer generation, their asset is in their home, but they are not willing to convert the asset into fiat currency. And so, what would you say about that?
Um, the I would say that I would look at it as the problem is the loss in purchasing power of the dollar.
Hmm.
You see, people have money, but they're inflating the value and purchasing power of your money away. So the cost of living rises, rent, gas, food. So yes, there is a crisis in a sense of people don't have enough money, but it's also because their money just doesn't retain purchasing power. But yeah,
Hmm.
that's something that's been going on for some time now, and it's going to continue as the dollar continues to lose value. um, More and more people are going to find themselves having to, uh, go back into work. And it's not by accident. These aren't things that just we found ourselves here. They knew and they know what their monetary policy is doing and the ramifications that it will have for years to come. And so they operate on problem, reaction, solution. They create a problem and they wait for people to react to that problem, and then they
Hmm.
provide a solution that they've already crafted because they already knew the problem that they created in the first place. you know so yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a real fact and reality of what we're dealing with. It's a real fact and reality of what we're dealing with. um yeah. So
Yeah, and I say that because I've dealt with it. My father passed, my mother passed, my father-in-law passed, mother-in-law passed. So I see the ability that you have, and none of them wanted to sell their homes, and they had a lot of equity in their homes, but they lose a whole income, and so then there's a bit of a struggle, right? And that's what I'm talking about with that generation keeping a lot of their wealth in their homes and not having some gold or some silver, some Bitcoin
mhm,
or this or that. And the wealth is in the home. And the only way you can tap into the wealth is what? A HELOC if you're not going to sell it. If you're not going to
right.
sell it, and there's a mental thing. We raised our family here, been here for 35 years. I'm not going to sell my house. But your house
Mhm,
is worth $450,000.
mhm,
But you need $250 to pay your electricity bill,
right.
right? And so to the rest of us who have to rally around as a community and help these people, and we say, but you got this amount of wealth, and so I always wanted my wealth to be
Well,
liquid,
yeah.
liquid. I want it to be liquid. I don't want you to have to sell a house. People are telling us, oh, but I gotta, have work done and all this stuff. And well, you need $250, but you got $500,000 worth of an asset, and you wouldn't sell it because
So you just get a HELOC. Just get a HELOC in first lien position. Yeah,
yeah,
like
that's what we told them, and they don't even want to do that. So it's that generation. I
yeah.
understand that everybody said your home is your wealth, so I understand the way that they see
You
that.
got to work. Yeah, you got to work with the options that's given to you. I mean, these are the options, and then these are the outcomes. Inaction is an action, and we know what will happen if there's no action taken, and we want to avert that. So we just have to, look at all the options available, and we have to exercise one of them.
Yeah, and these people uh, weren't. I mean, they're mostly women, but they weren't paying the bills and things like that. Weren't up on the bills. So when the husband died, they didn't really know what to do with the bills. And he never educated them on this is how you pay this bill, this bill, this bill. And so they're like kind of grieving and trying to figure out how to keep the household together. And so that's another thing we have talked about is educating. If you are the one who takes care of the financials in the household, educating other people of how to handle it in case of something happens to you, so that people don't, it's so bad that they don't even know how to use a debit card because they never have to. And so you have to educate them and let them know, even definitely in the crypto era, because you got keys you got with different wallets. I keep different wallets all over the place. I tell Aaron about them. I tell my son about them. When we go travel, I leave him with a couple debit cards. I say, here, just in case something happen, you got the main debit cards. I'm gonna travel with some cash, and I'll make it work. And we have to do that with our families, and we got to keep it in mind because people think they won't die, and people die every day. You know what I'm saying? They think, well, I'm young, I won't die. Anything can happen. You got to have
Mm.
your family ready and protected. Is that something that you believe?
Yeah, I agree with you, brother. 100%.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah. So I definitely thank you. Thank you for coming in here and chopping it up
Yep.
with me. Jake Fever, he wants you to drop your social media so he can
Yeah.
orange pill you. I'm like, okay, I don't. But Jake Fever is a friend of the show, man. He's in
No,
here.
yeah,
He's always
I can tell he's family, so it's all love. I can tell he's
yeah,
family.
he
Yeah, it's
be in
all
here.
love. He made he
But
made it
man,
he made for a great show tonight. But yeah, you guys can follow me. Well, go to my website, runwithrick.com, www.runwithrick.com. My socials are on there as well, but obviously Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, you'll be able to find those links all inside of my website, www.runwithrick.com.
and thank you. I'm gonna continue as always following you and Mike Dart. Shout out to Mike and the things that you guys be doing and moving around. It's wonderful to hear the information that you have and the things that you do and the way that you give information to the community because I don't see a lot of black men in the precious metals community. So that's I
Especially not
think that drew me to you when I first came across you, and I love to see it, man. I love to see the energy, the information that you guys drop. And so I always will follow you guys. And I'll reach out to you from time to time. I don't want to bother you, but I'll reach out from time to time so we can chop up some good game. And
Yes, sir.
yeah, and so on the end, I'm gonna end this because if you just send me your information, man, I'm gonna send you a love offering, man. I always do. Any guests, I send love offerings because
Yeah.
I
No worries.
appreciate your time and I
Yeah.
appreciate your knowledge and wisdom
Yeah.
that you give to us. So, man, just send me your information. I'm gonna take care
Yeah.
of you, no doubt. And
Awesome.
thank you,
Yep.
Crypto Rick, for being
Yep.
here, man.
Honored
We
to be
love you.
here.
There we go.
Lace up, love you wealthy. We catch you on the next live stream, man.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you
Come
for
on.
being here.
Peace.